The clock that will tick for 10,000 years. Welcome back to Get Sleepy. I'm your host, and tonight, we begin a slow, thoughtful journey across time, through scientific experiments designed to outlast lifetimes, even civilizations. In this series, we reflect on the incredible patience of science. So settle in, let your breath soften, and prepare to drift into restful sleep. Imagine a vast desert in the western United States. A warm wind stirs the dust, sweeping across ridges and canyons, whistling gently over ancient stones. Hidden beneath the surface of this desolate terrain, inside a mountain, something extraordinary has been set into motion. Deep within the rock, engineers and dreamers have built a machine. But this is no ordinary machine, it is a clock. And not just any clock. It's designed to keep time for 10,000 years. The 10,000-year clock. Its full name is the Clock of the Long Now, and it was envisioned by a group of thinkers determined to shift how we view time. In a world that spins ever faster, where decisions are made minute to minute, the creators of this clock asked, what if we thought in millennia instead? And so they began building something remarkable. A clock that ticks once per year. A century hand that moves once every 100 years. A cuckoo bird that emerges once every 1,000 years. As you imagine this, let yourself slow down. Feel the rhythm of time expanding. You don't have to do anything fast now. Just rest. Just breathe. The clock is being assembled inside a mountain in Texas. Visitors climb up to it on foot. There's no elevator. The journey to see the clock is meant to be part of the experience. A meditation on scale, on patience, on the long arc of human presence. The gears are made of stainless steel and ceramic. There's no battery. No power cord. The clock is wound by people who visit it, and it's kept going by clever engineering, using daily changes in temperature and solar alignment. And if no one visits it for centuries? That's fine. It will keep ticking anyway. This clock is a reminder that not all things are meant to be seen immediately. Some are meant to unfold over lifetimes. As you rest, think of that. Imagine time as something vast. Something slow and steady. Let go of urgency. Here, there are no deadlines. No alarms. Just the tick, tick, of deep time. What kind of civilization will be here in 10,000 years? Will they climb the mountain too, and hear the soft sound of the cuckoo calling from within the stone? The thought alone is enough to bring a peaceful kind of wonder. Let the quiet of the mountain settle into you. Let the steady gears of the 10,000-year clock soothe your thoughts. It will keep ticking, gently and patiently, long after our sleep has begun. The Pitch Drop Experiment. Welcome back to Get Sleepy. In this second part of our quiet exploration into long-lasting scientific experiments, we turn to something small, slow, and nearly invisible. Tonight, we travel not to a remote mountain or vast desert, but to a quiet laboratory in Brisbane, Australia. In a corner of the University of Queensland sits one of the world's longest-running science experiments, the pitch drop. It began in 1927, almost a century ago, when Professor Thomas Parnell poured a dark, tar-like substance known as pitch into a glass funnel. Pitch looks solid. If you hit it with a hammer, it might shatter. But this experiment sought to answer a simple question: is pitch truly solid, or just an incredibly slow-moving liquid? Once the pitch was poured into the funnel, the waiting began. And it hasn't stopped. The pitch, left undisturbed, began to slowly, ever so slowly, drip downward. The first drop didn't fall until 1938, 11 years later. Since then, only 9 drops have fallen. That's roughly 1 drop every 10 years. Let that settle in for a moment. As you lie here, cozy and quiet, imagine watching something, for decades, waiting for a single drop. The pitch moves so slowly that no one had even seen a drop fall, until the 9th drop in 2014, which was finally captured on camera. Before that, every drop arrived in secret. One day it wasn't there, and the next, it was. There's something soothing about this kind of patience. This kind of attention. In our fast-moving world, to run an experiment like this is a meditation. A reminder that not all truths reveal themselves in a flash. The pitch drop experiment has earned a place in the Guinness Book of World Records as the world's longest-running lab experiment. And still, it continues, silently, steadily, slowly. It doesn't beep. It doesn't flash. It just waits. Maybe that's something we could all learn from. Let yourself rest in this idea. That slow doesn't mean still. That invisible doesn't mean inactive. That waiting can be a kind of wisdom. As your breath settles, think about that dark little drop of pitch, hanging, growing heavier, almost ready. But not yet. Let your thoughts slow down too. There's nothing urgent here. Just quiet science, unfolding across decades. Sleep, like science, sometimes arrives gently, when you're not looking for it. Tomorrow, we'll meet an even older experiment. One that was buried beneath a university garden more than a century ago, and is still revealing its secrets. The seeds beneath the soil. Welcome back to Get Sleepy. Tonight, we continue our gentle exploration of science that takes its time, quiet experiments that last far longer than the people who began them. In this third part, we journey to the grounds of Michigan State University in the United States. There, beneath the soil of a quiet garden, lies one of the world's oldest and most patient experiments, the seed viability study. This story begins all the way back in 1879. Professor William James Beal, a botanist, had a question, one rooted in curiosity and time: how long can seeds lie dormant underground, and still grow? He wanted to know how long seeds could stay viable, buried away from sunlight and water, and still awaken when planted. So, he designed an experiment, one that would stretch across generations. He carefully selected 20 species of seeds, then placed them in glass bottles filled with dry sand. The bottles were buried upside down on the university grounds, to keep water out and mimic dormancy in nature. Professor Beal's plan was to dig up a bottle every 5 years to test whether the seeds could still sprout. After a few decades, the interval was extended to 10 years, and eventually 20. And so, bottle by bottle, time passed. Professors came and went. Buildings were built. Trees grew tall. Students graduated and grandchildren returned. But the seeds remained, silent, still, sleeping. Every 20 years, a small group of botanists carefully digs up a bottle in the middle of the night, under the cover of darkness, to keep the location secret. They take the bottle to a lab, gently extract the seeds, and attempt to germinate them. And to the quiet amazement of the scientific world, some of them still grow. Seeds buried in the 1800s, untouched for over 100 years, have awakened into life. Think of that as you settle into your own quiet space tonight. Imagine a tiny seed. No bigger than a grain of rice, holding within it the full design for a green and leafy plant. Waiting in the dark. Waiting through storms, winters, wars, and years of silence. And then, with a little water and warmth, it stretches. Opens. Reaches toward the light. Isn't that a comforting thought? That life can wait. That it knows how to rest. That sometimes, dormancy is part of the process. Just like those seeds, your body and mind need time to be still. Let your breath slow. Let your thoughts grow soft. Let the soil of your imagination cradle something beautiful and asleep inside you. Because like the seeds in Beal's experiment, you are quietly preparing to bloom, in your own time. Next time, we'll drift toward an experiment even stranger and slower, one where clocks tick for tens of thousands of years in the shadow of mountains. But for now, let this long experiment of patience lull you gently into sleep. The clock of the long now. Welcome back to Get Sleepy. Tonight, we arrive at the final chapter of our tranquil series about patient science, the kind that unfolds slowly, like the blooming of a rare flower. We've traveled through dripping pitch, ancient trees, and buried seeds. Now, we journey to the dry, quiet desert of West Texas, where deep inside a mountain, a group of thinkers, artists, and engineers are building a machine designed to last 10,000 years. It's called the clock of the long now. This isn't a clock you'll find on a wrist or in a hallway. It's monumental, over 500 feet tall, and hidden away in a remote limestone mountain. To see it, you must hike for hours, climbing rugged terrain, past centuries-old cacti and sun-warmed stone. So why build such a clock? The people behind this idea wanted to create something that could shift the way we think about time. In a world obsessed with the now, where seconds tick by on screens and apps, they dreamed of a slower time. A deeper time. They asked, what if we could build something that still worked in the year 12,000? Something so enduring it would remind us of our place in a vast continuum, not just of minutes, but of millennia. The clock is powered by temperature changes from day to night, and can also be wound by visitors. It ticks once every year. Its hands move once every century. And the cuckoo, it sings just once every 1,000 years. Imagine that. A bell that only chimes for ears 1,000 years apart. A timepiece that waits for your great-great-great-great-grandchildren, and beyond. There are no glowing screens, no alarms, no reminders. Just the soft whisper of gears. Stone against stone. Time humming through a mountain. As you lie back now, safe and still, let the image of that clock settle in your mind. Picture its great pendulums, gently swaying in the darkness. Carved into the mountain. Sheltered from storms. Ticking slowly, like a sleeping heartbeat. With each breath you take, imagine yourself in sync with its rhythm, not the frantic rush of seconds, but the gentle hush of centuries. In this deep time, there is no hurry. There is only the now, and the long now. And in this space, you too can let go of urgency. Let go of expectation. You are not behind. You are not late. You are simply here, in this beautiful moment of stillness, supported by the vast quiet of a world that stretches far beyond our everyday worries. Let the patience of the clock remind you, life is not a sprint. It's a slow unfolding. And as you rest, you are part of something ancient and ongoing. The night cradles you. The mountain shelters you. And somewhere, far away, in a hidden chamber of stone, time continues, one slow tick at a time. A whisper before the universe. Welcome, dear dreamer. Tonight begins a journey, a quiet adventure across time and space, led not by rockets or noise, but by breath and imagination. As you settle beneath your blanket and your body grows still, let your mind stay open like the night sky. You're in the company of the sleep scientist, your gentle guide through the cosmos, someone who understands not just stars and atoms, but dreams and silence too. Now take a deep breath in. And out. Let everything go, the rush of the day, the sounds beyond your window, let it all dissolve. Because tonight, we begin at the beginning. Not just of your story. Or the Earth's story. But the very first breath of everything. The universe, everything we know, see, or feel, began not with a roar, but with a spark. The sleep scientist explains softly that it wasn't an explosion, as people sometimes say. It was more like a silent unfolding. A single, invisible point that held within it all of time, all of space, all of the ingredients for galaxies, sunlight, oceans, and you. This moment is called the Big Bang. But it wasn't loud. Not in the way we think. There was no air to carry sound. No ears to hear it. Just expansion, like a balloon slowly inflating, stretching reality out from a place smaller than a single atom. From that tiny seed, time began ticking. Light was born. The very first particles danced into being, full of energy and motion and wonder. Hydrogen and helium were the first elements, simple, airy things. But they held the seeds of stars. Of warmth. Of life. Everything that would ever exist was wrapped into that single moment. The sleep scientist invites you to imagine it not as fire or fury, but as warmth and potential. Like the soft hum before a lullaby. The universe was still so small then, smaller than your room. Maybe smaller than your bed. But it grew quickly. Within moments, it was larger than whole galaxies would ever be. And in this young, unfolding cosmos, there was still no matter, not really. Only energy, moving and glowing. A sea of light that had not yet cooled enough to become stars. As you rest your head against your pillow, imagine yourself floating there. Not cold. Not scared. Just calm. Watching everything unfold. The sleep scientist smiles beside you, they're floating too, wearing a cozy lab coat, slippers instead of shoes, and glasses that reflect whole constellations. They reach into their coat pocket and gently pull out a star map, not of constellations, but of moments. Here's where time begins, they whisper, pointing to a soft shimmer in space. And here's where the first atoms form. It took hundreds of thousands of years for the early universe to cool enough for light to travel freely. But you don't have to rush. Because time here doesn't run like it does at home. You have all the time in the world to float and drift, to dream of the great becoming. Eventually, the universe cooled. Energy slowed, just enough, to let matter form. Tiny particles began to cling together. Protons, electrons, neutrons, little pieces that would one day become suns and seas and stories. And then, after many long, silent moments, darkness gave way to the first true light. It didn't sparkle at first. It wasn't a star. It was more like the glow before dawn. The sleep scientist points again, this, they say, is the cosmic microwave background, the oldest light in the universe. It's still out there, a whisper from 13.8 billion years ago. They smile, letting you feel the age of it, not as something distant or cold, but as something cradling you, surrounding you like a soft blanket. Everything around you is calm. Endless space stretches out in every direction. There are no galaxies yet. No planets. But the ingredients are gathering. Gravity, that patient force, begins to pull things together. Hydrogen begins to form clouds. Clouds begin to collapse. And somewhere, far off, the first stars are preparing to ignite. As you breathe in and out, know that you are witnessing the quiet birth of everything. The sleep scientist leans back, arms behind their head, floating beside you in the cosmic quiet. Tomorrow, they whisper, we'll visit the first stars, great furnaces of light, born in darkness. But for now, rest. Let the thought of a growing universe rock you gently, like a cradle made of stardust. You are safe. You are small, but essential. Just like every atom. Every spark. Every story. And tonight, your journey through everything has just begun. Sleep well, traveler of stars. Milky Way ZZZ. First light, the birth of stars. Welcome back, dreamer. As you drift further into rest, let your breath be gentle, like stardust settling in space. Tonight, the sleep scientist returns, floating alongside you through the deep velvet dark of early space. Last time, they whisper, we watched the universe awaken. Tonight, we'll witness something even more magical, the very first stars. You're weightless again, surrounded by the slow swirl of glowing clouds, enormous stretches of hydrogen and helium, drifting silently across an infinite sky. Everything is cool and peaceful, but that's about to change. Because gravity, that patient, invisible hand, has been at work. It pulls the lightest gases together, gently folding them into denser and denser clouds. From the outside, it looks like nothing is happening. But within these clouds, the pressure begins to rise. The atoms begin to dance faster and closer. And then, without a sound, the very first star is born. You don't hear a bang. You see a glow. A brilliant, golden flame appears like a candle lighting itself in a cathedral of space. This is a population 3 star, one of the first that ever existed. It is massive, hundreds of times bigger than our sun. And it burns bright. The sleep scientist places a hand gently on your shoulder. This, they say, is when the universe truly lit up. All around you, other stars begin to bloom like fireflies in the dark. They appear one by one, then by the dozen, then by the thousands. Each one a nuclear heart, pulsing light into the emptiness. You drift slowly between them, mesmerized. Their light is not harsh. It's warm, a soothing radiance that fills the space with a golden calm. You feel it on your skin, like the glow of a fireplace on a winter night. These stars, the sleep scientist continues, live fast and burn bright. They create the very elements we're made of. Because inside every star, fusion begins, light atoms smashing together to form heavier ones. Hydrogen becomes helium. Then helium becomes carbon, oxygen, even iron. You breathe slowly as you imagine it, the quiet alchemy of the cosmos. From simple gas, to the building blocks of planets, and people. Every breath you take, the sleep scientist whispers, was made possible by this ancient light. You float in awe, watching these early stars go through their quiet life cycles. Some are growing old already. Their cores get heavy. Their balance begins to slip. And then, in a flash of silent brilliance, some of them collapse. They go supernova, scattering their precious stardust across the universe. The colors of the explosion are breathtaking, deep purples, rich reds, blazing golds. It's not destruction, it's transformation. That stardust will one day become moons, oceans, and minds like yours. You and the sleep scientist gently drift through a nebula, the colorful remains of one such supernova. It's like swimming through a dream. Clouds of cosmic color curl around you, hues of pink, green, and sapphire, slowly twisting and blooming in the silence. This, your guide says softly, is where the seeds of everything are sown. You close your eyes and listen. Not with your ears, but with your imagination. And you hear it, not noise, but rhythm. A pulse. A gentle thump, like a cosmic heartbeat. You're in the nursery of galaxies. And though stars are still being born, there's a new kind of motion beginning. The galaxies themselves, those giant islands of stars, are beginning to take shape. Your eyelids grow heavier, your body lighter, as the nebula gently turns around you like a slow-moving carousel of light. You feel the sleep scientist drift closer and place a blanket of starlight over your shoulders. They speak one last time tonight, their voice like a breeze in space. Rest now, dreamer. The stars are watching over you. Tomorrow, we visit galaxies, great gatherings of light and dust, where your home will one day be born. You sigh, your breath slow and full. The glow of starlight wraps around you like a lullaby. And with that, you begin to drift deeper, beyond the stars, into sleep. The gathering, birth of galaxies. Welcome back, dear dreamer. Tonight, the cosmos continues to unfold. You're floating again, in the stillness of space, wrapped in the glow of distant starlight. The sleep scientist is with you, your kind, ever-curious guide through the quiet beauty of the universe. Last night, we watched stars awaken, tiny suns sparking to life in a sea of darkness. But tonight, we drift towards something bigger. Something grand and graceful. Galaxies. Massive, swirling collections of stars, gas, dust, and dark mystery, the homes of the cosmos. As you float in the blackness, the stars begin to group together. Slowly, gently, gravity gathers them like scattered notes into a cosmic symphony. At first, they form loose clusters, little families of light. But then, like dancers pulled into a waltz, the stars begin to swirl. You watch, in perfect calm, as clouds of glowing matter spiral into majestic forms. Some shaped like pinwheels, others like giant eggs, some simply spheres of brilliant haze. These are the first galaxies. And each one contains millions, billions, of stars. The sleep scientist opens a gentle star map and shows you 3 glowing spirals. Here's the Milky Way, they whisper, pointing to a luminous curl of light. And here, our neighbor, Andromeda. They turn the map slowly, revealing dozens more, beautiful, nameless, ancient galaxies that will never be seen by human eyes. But here, in your dream space, you can see them all, spinning in slow motion, as if dancing in silence. Some are blue with newborn stars. Others are golden with age. You float through them, feeling the calm of space stretch wide around you. No noise. No rush. Just gentle light and drifting time. You pass a giant elliptical galaxy, glowing softly like a lantern in the dark. Its stars are older, redder, wiser, somehow. The sleep scientist smiles as you pass. This one has been resting for a while, they explain. Its days of star birth are behind it. But its wisdom echoes in every atom of light. Suddenly, to your left, a galaxy collides with another. But there's no explosion. No chaos. Just 2 swirls of stars slowly merging, like waves folding into one another. This dance lasts billions of years. But to you, watching in stillness, it feels like a slow-motion ballet. Stars glide past each other, mostly unharmed. Galaxies are vast, the distances between their stars so enormous that most will never touch. Instead, they pass through, blending into new shapes, new songs of light. You and the sleep scientist drift closer to one spiral galaxy, brilliant arms curling out from its center, like the swirl of cream in tea. This, your guide says softly, is where your story will begin. You peer into one of the spiral arms, and there, twinkling near the edge, is a small, bright star. Around it, a swirl of gas and dust. The early formation of a solar system. But we'll save that for another night. Tonight, just let yourself float through these great celestial cities. Each galaxy like a glowing city in a universe without borders. You pass through a galactic core, dense and radiant. Here, stars are packed tightly, glowing white and gold. In the center, something strange pulses with invisible power, a supermassive black hole. It pulls space inward, gently, silently. But don't worry, you're safe. The sleep scientist holds your hand and guides you around it, like a quiet moon circling a planet. The edges of your vision shimmer, not with fear, but fascination. Everything here feels vast but calm, powerful, but patient. And you? You're a dreamer, witnessing it all in peace. As you float on, the galaxies stretch farther apart. Space expands. The stars grow more distant. But you're not alone. The sleep scientist wraps you in a soft blanket. One woven from the light of ancient stars. You've seen so much tonight, they whisper. It's time to rest. You close your eyes as the galaxies twinkle like a lullaby around you. Their light, soft. Their motion, soothing. And their age, comforting. Because even though they're billions of years old, tonight they've waited just for you, to drift, to wonder, to sleep. The birth of a solar system, where our story begins. Welcome back, gentle traveler. Tonight, the sleep scientist invites you to a quieter corner of the universe, a spiral arm of the Milky Way, calm and serene. Out here, light drifts slowly, and time moves like a breeze. This is where our story begins. A newborn star flickers in the velvet dark, small and golden, wrapped in a swirling cloud of dust and gas. It's not yet the sun we know. But it's becoming. The sleep scientist points to it with wonder, like a parent admiring their child's first breath. A star has formed, they whisper. And now, it builds its family. Around the star, a glowing disk spins, flat and wide, like a galactic pancake made of ancient particles. These are the leftovers of creation, bits of rock, ice, and gas, colliding and merging. At first, it's chaos, a billion tiny fragments dancing through space. But slowly, order begins to emerge. Little clumps bump together, again and again. They stick. They spin. They grow. You float above the disk, watching the magic of patience unfold. This is accretion, nature's way of building worlds. The clumps become planetesimals, space pebbles the size of cities. Then they grow bigger, mountain-sized, continent-sized, moon-sized. It takes millions of years, but here in your dream, it passes like a breath. You watch as one clump grows faster than the rest. It pulls others toward it, not with hands, but with gravity. This will be Earth. Still just a baby, hot, molten, glowing from the heat of its birth. The sleep scientist waves a hand, and time gently speeds up. You see the young Earth spin, cooling, cracking, shaping oceans. Another body forms nearby, a rogue planet crashing into Earth, splashing debris into the sky. And from that swirling mess, a silver globe begins to take shape. The moon. You float between them, amazed. Earth and moon, like parent and child, forever tied in orbit. The early Earth is wild and volcanic. Lightning dances across its skies. Comets bring water, and maybe the seeds of life. For now, there's no sound, just a sense of stirring. Like something is waiting to wake. You glide over bubbling oceans, steaming vents, and endless rain. And beneath the surface, tiny miracles begin. The first molecules gather in warm pools. A spark ignites between them. And life begins, not with a roar, but with a whisper. The sleep scientist nods with reverence. From stardust to planets, from rock to life, the journey continues. You float above the early Earth as it turns slowly beneath you. There's no green yet. No bird song. Just deep blue seas, and the faint promise of something more. Above you, stars blink softly, as if keeping watch. And the sun, no longer new, glows with quiet pride. You feel sleep curling around you again, like the clouds of that ancient disk. The sleep scientist tucks a soft solar wind around your shoulders. Rest, dear dreamer, they say. Next time, we'll meet the first living things, and trace their story, from sea to sky. You exhale slowly, warm and safe in your orbit of dreams. The Earth spins below. The stars sparkle above. And all around, the universe hums you a lullaby. The first breath, life awakens in the ancient ocean. Welcome again, gentle explorer. Tonight, we return to Earth, but not the Earth you know. This is a planet before trees, before dinosaurs, before even the whisper of human life. Tonight, the sleep scientist takes you into the warm, primeval sea, the cradle of all life. Drifting with you over quiet waves, they point downward. Beneath the surface lies a world humming with possibility. We descend together into these ancient waters, where sunlight filters through in golden threads and the sea cradles the secrets of beginnings. In the shallows, near bubbling hydrothermal vents, the water is warmer, rich with minerals and energy. Here, something extraordinary is happening. From tiny molecules, some from Earth, some perhaps from ancient comets, new structures form. At first, they're just droplets. Then bubbles. Then strands of repeating patterns, molecules learning to copy themselves. The sleep scientist smiles gently. This, they whisper, is the beginning of life. You peer closer. There, shimmering in the water, a tiny cell floats alone. Smaller than a grain of dust, but carrying the blueprint of all that will come. It divides, and divides again. From 1, come 2. Then 4, 8, 16, a colony of life. These first cells are simple, no hearts, no lungs, no bones. Just delicate membranes and a hunger for light and minerals. But they are alive. And in their quiet division, the story of life has begun. You float through a sea of these tiny pioneers, cyanobacteria, the ancient builders of oxygen. They drift like snowflakes in warm water, breathing in sunlight and exhaling tiny bubbles of gas. Oxygen. It's not much at first, barely enough to notice. But over time, over millions of gentle years, the oxygen gathers. It builds in the ocean. It leaks into the sky. And slowly, the earth begins to change. The air becomes breathable. The ocean clears. And new life takes hold. You and the sleep scientist drift through time. Now, Earth is covered in water and little islands of rock. No flowers, no birds, just sea and sky. And life is still quiet. But beneath the waves, evolution is stirring. Cells begin to specialize, some gather light, some consume others. The first eukaryotic cells appear, more complex, more organized. They hold tiny organelles, little engines that keep the cell alive. You float alongside one, watching it pull in nutrients, spin them into energy, and divide like a slow-motion firework. These, the sleep scientist says, are the ancestors of every plant, animal, and human to ever exist. You marvel at the simplicity, the grace. How something so small can carry so much potential. Time flows gently around you. The ocean darkens, then brightens again. Storms pass, seasons change, continents shift. But life keeps going. Slowly. Patiently. Beautifully. And as it does, the ocean becomes a garden, full of floating creatures, each more complex than the last. Some sprout tiny tails and swim. Others grow shells. Some form colonies, like underwater cities. The ocean pulses with quiet purpose. The sleep scientist holds your hand as you drift among these early lifeforms. They've learned to cooperate, they explain. To compete. To evolve. To survive. The sea becomes a tapestry of color and motion. Bright algae sway in the current. Tiny organisms glow with bioluminescent light. Predators and prey emerge, not with fear, but with balance. Everything in harmony. You feel a deep, calming rhythm here. The rhythm of life unfolding, breath by breath, cell by cell. And somewhere deep inside, your body remembers this ocean. Because once, long ago, you, too, were part of it. As sleep settles in, the sleep scientist wraps you in a warm tide of sound. You've witnessed the dawn of life, they whisper. Next time, we'll watch it step onto land, and reshape the world again. You close your eyes. The sea cradles you gently. The first breath of life still hums in the water. And earth turns slowly in the quiet dark. The first to walk, life steps onto land. Welcome back, sleepy traveler. Tonight, the sleep scientist takes you to a momentous turning point in Earth's story, a step so quiet, yet so powerful, it changed everything. We drift gently above a vast, ancient ocean. The sky is pale blue, and the sun is soft and golden. The earth is alive beneath us, green tides of algae wash ashore, and thick mats of mossy life cling to the rocks. It's the Silurian period, some 430 million years ago. The ocean still dominates the world, but land is waking. Let's go down, the sleep scientist whispers, smiling. It's time to meet the first explorers. We glide to the shoreline, where soft waves kiss the edge of a rocky coast. The land here is silent, no birds, no mammals, no trees. Just a quiet emptiness filled with potential. But look closer. Tiny green tendrils grow from the damp earth. These are the first land plants, primitive mosses and liverworts, hugging the soil like sleepy blankets. They don't have roots or flowers, but they thrive in the wetness, soaking up sun and water. The air, once harsh, is now gentler, thanks to millions of years of oxygen made by the sea. And because of that, something amazing is happening. On this quiet day, in a quiet corner of the planet, life crawls onto land. You and the sleep scientist crouch beside a tidal pool, watching in stillness. There, shimmering in the shallows, a strange little creature scuttles onto a sun-warmed rock. It's no bigger than your palm, armored like a beetle, with tiny legs and bulging eyes. A eurypterid, sometimes called a sea scorpion. It moves carefully, as if unsure of its decision. But here it is, breathing air, feeling sunlight, walking on land. This is not a grand parade. There is no celebration. Just one small life testing a new world. More follow. Millipedes with dozens of legs trail slowly over mossy stones. Insects with primitive wings buzz near the edges. These are Earth's first colonists. It's land dwellers, inventing a new way to live. The sleep scientist watches with awe. It's courage, they whisper. Stepping into the unknown, changing forever. We walk softly through this ancient land. The plants are spreading, growing taller, bolder, reaching upward for the sun. Eventually, they'll become forests. But for now, they are small and quiet, just enough to give shelter, to feed new forms of life. Time flows gently around you. Days pass, seasons turn, and the land becomes greener. Rain falls often, feeding the roots of ferns and the spores of moss. Then, a new shape stirs near a stream. You crouch down with the sleep scientist and see a strange fish, but it's not just a fish. Its fins are thick and muscular. It pushes itself from the water, onto a muddy bank. Its breathing is slow, gasping. But it doesn't stop. This is Tiktaalik, the bridge between sea and land, fish and amphibian. Its fins become limbs. Its gills begin to share space with lungs. You feel a thrill in your chest, the awe of transformation. Because this isn't just about one animal. It's about the moment every creature with legs began its story. The Tiktaalik pauses, tail twitching, eyes blinking. Then it turns back to the water, but not for long. One day soon, its descendants will stay. And walk. And leap. And fill the world with life. The sleep scientist touches your shoulder. You just watched the beginning of footsteps, they say. From here, the world begins to echo with new sounds. You feel it, the stirring of frog song, the rustle of ferns, the soft thump of something leaping through underbrush. It's faint, still forming. But it's coming. You take one last look at the mossy shore. At the brave little creatures testing their world. Then you float upward, slow and still, as the land disappears beneath a rising mist. The stars appear again, blinking gently above you. Your body relaxes. Your breath deepens. And the warmth of Earth holds you in its arms. Tomorrow, the sleep scientist will take you further. But for now, you rest. You dream. You drift like spores on the wind, quiet and free. The reign of giants, dinosaurs and ancient skies. Welcome back, sleepy soul. Tonight, the sleep scientist guides us into a world both familiar and astonishing, a time when Earth belonged to giants, and the skies echoed with the cries of creatures now long gone. You float gently downward through a prehistoric sky. The air is thick and warm. Below you, dense forests stretch to the horizon, towering ferns, colossal conifers, and blooming cycads paint the landscape in lush greens and golds. It is the Mesozoic era, the age of dinosaurs. The sleep scientist glides beside you, their voice low and full of wonder. This was a world unlike any you know, they whisper. It was louder, greener, and more alive than perhaps any time in history. We settle near a vast riverbank, where the earth is soft beneath your feet and the trees hum with insects. Suddenly, the trees part, and you see them. Enormous creatures, walking in slow, majestic silence. A herd of brachiosauruses, long-necked, gentle plant-eaters, move gracefully through the clearing. Their feet leave deep impressions in the ground, and their necks sway like branches in the wind. They reach high into the trees, munching on leaves that only they can touch. Each breath is like a gentle sigh through the forest. Even from a distance, they inspire awe. So peaceful. So timeless. The sleep scientist smiles. They ruled not through fear, but through presence. Through scale. Through calmness. As you walk among the shadows of these giants, other shapes appear. Fast and curious, a trio of oviraptors dash across the path, their feathers catching the golden sunlight. They chirp and click, pecking at the ground, then vanish into the underbrush like playful shadows. Then, the sound of wings. Above you, vast pterosaurs soar, gliding over the treetops. Their wings stretch wider than cars, casting silhouettes over the land. They circle a crystal blue lake, dipping low, then climbing high. It's as if the sky itself is alive. You and the sleep scientist walk quietly, deeper into the forest. The air grows cooler, and the ground becomes misty. In a clearing, you find a nest, enormous eggs nestled in warm, earthy hollows. Nearby, a mother Maiasaura watches calmly, her head gently nudging one egg closer into the center. You feel a surge of tenderness. Even here, in a world ruled by scale and might, the instinct to nurture remains the same. This, the sleep scientist murmurs, is how life balances. Fierceness and gentleness. Power and care. Time flows differently in this place. Sunlight dapples the forest floor. A distant roar echoes, not threatening, just part of the ancient chorus of this land. Through the trees, a familiar shape appears. One that stirs awe in your chest. A Tyrannosaurus rex. It moves with incredible grace, slower than you expected, its head held high, eyes alert. It walks alone, not hunting, but simply being, a creature in its prime, master of its domain. And yet, it does not disturb the peace. Even the smaller dinosaurs nearby do not panic. They move out of its way, respectfully, as if they know. Here, survival is not cruelty. It is rhythm. Everything, the trees, the rivers, the creatures, follows the ancient pulse of life. The sleep scientist invites you to lie on the forest floor. You do, the earth warm beneath you. Above, pterosaurs glide between branches as sunlight filters down in golden shafts. You breathe deeply, the scent of pine, moss, and warm earth filling your lungs. Around you, the song of life continues, chirps, rumbles, wind in the trees. Then, something changes. The sky begins to darken. Not with storm clouds, but with something else. Ash. You sit up slowly as a shadow spreads across the land. The sleep scientist places a calming hand on your shoulder. This is part of the story too, they say softly. In the distance, a light, too bright, streaks across the sky. A meteor. A fiery, glowing presence, fast, final, beautiful. Time shifts again. You are no longer on the forest floor, but watching from above. You see the moment of impact, the flash, the wave, the cloud. But also, the silence that follows. The dinosaurs do not scream. They simply fade, their time complete. This, says the sleep scientist, was not an end, but a transformation. And as the dust clears, you see the future rising in the ashes. Tiny mammals scurry from their burrows. Seeds, buried deep, begin to sprout. A new world is beginning. The reign of giants has passed, but their echoes will remain, in birds, in fossils, and in dreams. You float higher now, the earth turning slowly beneath you. A lullaby of ages plays in the distance, a song of scale, of evolution, of timeless sleep. The sleep scientist tucks you in among the stars, their voice the last thing you hear. Rest now. You've walked with giants. Next time, we'll meet the ones who rose after. And with that, your eyes close. Peace settles like moss over stone. The age of dinosaurs drifts into dreams. Rising from the ashes, the dawn of mammals. Welcome back, dear dreamer. In our last journey, we stood at the edge of change, at the close of the age of dinosaurs. Now, in the hush that follows great upheaval, a new world begins to emerge. The sleep scientist walks beside you along a forest path. The air is cooler now. Moist. Gentle sunlight trickles through trees that are thinner, shorter, more familiar. A breeze carries the scent of fresh leaves, damp soil, and mossy bark. This, the sleep scientist says, is a rebirth. The world has quieted, and in the stillness, something new awakens. You kneel beside a thicket and peer into a tangle of ferns. There, nestled beneath the brush, are tiny mammals, no larger than your hand. Their eyes glimmer. Their fur is soft. They move with urgency and intelligence, collecting food, tending young, sniffing the air. These are the first ancestors of creatures you know today, of cats, bears, deer, whales, even of us. From the ashes of extinction, mammals rose not with thunder but with quiet tenacity. They are clever, adaptable, and warm. You walk further and see more signs of change. The plants look different now, flowering shrubs, early trees, grasses just beginning to spread across once scorched ground. Insects hum gently, and birds, yes, the descendants of dinosaurs, flit between branches, adding music to the air. The world is healing. The sleep scientist leads you into a clearing where a wide open plain stretches beyond the trees. Herds of early mammals graze, some the size of pigs, others as large as modern antelope. One group looks at you curiously, creatures with hooves and long noses like tapirs. Behind them, saber-toothed predators lounge in the shade of rock overhangs. But there is no violence here. Only observation. Stillness. This is the Paleogene period, your guide says, a time of subtle miracles. You lie in the grass and watch clouds drift across the sky. For a moment, it feels like a modern world, until a massive creature steps into view. A Paraceratherium, one of the largest land mammals to ever live. It moves with the slow grace of a brachiosaurus, but it is entirely mammal, thick-skinned, towering, with a gentle gaze. It lowers its long neck to munch on tree branches, unbothered by your presence. You marvel at its scale, its breath warming the breeze. The earth is rewriting itself. Over the hills, another sound emerges, the trickling of water. The sleep scientist smiles. Come. There's more to see. You follow a winding stream until it reaches the sea. There, something unexpected awaits. Shapes in the surf, moving with grace and power. You expect fish or dolphins, but instead, you see ancient whales. Their bodies are strange, part land, part sea. Some still have limbs. Others resemble sleek torpedoes. These are walking whales, whispers your guide. Descendants of land animals who return to the oceans. You watch as one of them surfaces, exhales a burst of air, and slips silently beneath the waves. Adaptation. Evolution. Resilience. From volcanic skies to cooling oceans, life keeps finding a way. You walk along the shore as the sun sets over a world in transition. Small primates leap from tree to tree. Seeds scatter on the wind. Flowers bloom, as though celebrating the future. You sit beneath a tree and close your eyes. The sleep scientist's voice hums like a lullaby. Mammals will grow wiser. Taller. braver. They will climb, hunt, think, dream. The wind sways gently, and you drift into sleep, imagining a future shaped by paws and hands, hooves and fins. In the stillness, the stars begin to twinkle above the land once ruled by fire. Tonight, they watch over a world reborn. The forest of minds, the rise of primates. Welcome back, gentle dreamer. As the morning mist rises over a dense green canopy, the sleep scientist stands beside you beneath the shelter of vast, leafy branches. This part of our journey, she says softly, brings us closer to home. Closer to ourselves. Before you lies a tropical forest, not so different from the rainforests of today, yet older, quieter. This is the epoch when primates began their ascent, both in the trees and through time. As you walk, vines sway gently overhead. The light filters through layers of green, turning the air golden and warm. You look up, there, nestled in the branches, are early primates, small, agile, with expressive eyes and clever fingers. They leap effortlessly from limb to limb, using hands not just for climbing but for grasping, playing, thinking. The sleep scientist points. See how their hands can turn, how their eyes look forward, how they care for one another. These are the seeds of something remarkable. You kneel beside a quiet stream and watch a primate family gathered nearby. A mother grooms her child while others play, mimicking, learning. Their gestures feel familiar, almost human. This is not just a forest, it is a forest of minds. A world awakening to thought. As you move deeper into the woods, you come upon a wide clearing where a troop of larger primates is foraging. One breaks open fruit with a rock. Another uses a stick to draw patterns in the dirt. These small acts, whispers the sleep scientist, are the roots of tools, of symbols, of stories. A feeling of quiet awe settles over you. The forest echoes with curiosity. You climb a hill, and at the top, you find a panoramic view, vast stretches of woodland, shimmering rivers, volcanic mountains in the distance. Herds of animals graze below, but your gaze returns to the trees, to the lives blooming there. You realize this is a turning point, a chapter in Earth's tale where thinking takes a new form. As night begins to fall, fireflies emerge, tiny lights flickering like thoughts in the dark. The sleep scientist lays out a blanket beneath a wide tree, and you lie down beside her, gazing upward into the canopy. Every thought, every tool, every idea, she says gently, began as a spark in a mind like this. The journey of intelligence began here, in the gentle rhythm of leaves and breath and memory. You close your eyes and imagine a mind slowly waking, generation by generation. It dreams of safety, of warmth, of others. It dreams of the future. Tonight, you rest in that dream, in the forest where the first minds bloomed. And the wind carries you deeper into sleep, through the branches of time. Footsteps across the earth, the first humans. Welcome back, dear dreamer. Tonight, we walk beside shadows. Not the cold kind that frighten, but the ancient, dignified shadows of those who came before us, the very first humans. You and the sleep scientist stand together at the edge of a vast savanna. The grass waves in golden ripples beneath a purple twilight sky. This, your guide says softly, is where memory begins to take root. Where stories become more than dreams, and footsteps begin to echo across the earth. As you walk, you hear them. Not words, but the language of movement. A small band of early humans makes their way across the plains. They travel together, parents and children, elders and young ones, carrying tools, wrapped in animal skins, eyes wide with wonder. They are not afraid. They are aware. You follow them at a quiet distance, watching as they stop to rest near a river. Some gather fruit and honey, others sharpen tools made of stone. A child points upward, to the stars just beginning to twinkle in the sky. A simple gesture, but full of meaning. The sleep scientist smiles. That pointing finger, that wondering gaze, was the beginning of science. Of poetry. Of everything. The fire is lit. Sparks drift like fireflies as the tribe gathers close. One of them, an elder, begins to speak. You do not understand the words, yet the rhythm, the pauses, the faces around the fire, all tell the story. You hear fear and courage. Loss and joy. The tale of a great hunt, perhaps, or a spirit that lives in the wind. It is the first bedtime story. And you, dreamer, are invited to listen. Above you, the sky blooms with stars. The constellations seem clearer here, ancient and eternal. The fire crackles. The group laughs softly. A baby falls asleep in her mother's arms. You sit nearby, warmed not just by the fire, but by the presence of kin. Even across thousands of years. The sleep scientist whispers, we are all part of their journey. Their blood flows in our veins. Their dreams are our inheritance. The tribe falls asleep under the stars, forming a circle around the fire, bodies curled into the earth. You lie beside them. The soil is warm. The sky is endless. And the story continues, in bones and breath, in language and light. Your eyes flutter closed. Tonight, you dream with the first storytellers, under stars that have watched over us all. You are part of something vast and beautiful. Rest now, traveler of time. The dawn of language, when we learn to speak. Welcome back, gentle dreamer. Tonight, the sleep scientist invites you to witness something quiet, yet monumental, a transformation that forever changed how we connect. Words, she says softly, were not always with us. But once they arrived, the world was never the same. You find yourself standing at the mouth of a wide cave. The stone is smooth beneath your fingertips, weathered by time and breath. You step inside, following your guide into a space glowing with firelight. The walls are alive, painted with ochre, charcoal, and clay. You see animals in motion, handprints left behind like gentle echoes. These are the marks of the first humans who could not yet write, but who spoke in another way, through art, gesture, and slowly, through language. As you move deeper, you hear voices, soft, melodic, rhythmic. A group of early humans gathers near the fire. One speaks, and the others nod. Another responds. A child repeats the word. Laughter follows. You may not understand the sounds, but their meaning is clear. Connection. These are not just noises. These are the seeds of speech. Your heart swells with quiet wonder. Language, that magical code of meaning, is beginning to take root. The sleep scientist sits beside the fire and gently narrates. Before language, we dreamed alone. But with words, we began to share. To comfort. To remember. To hope. You listen as they name things, the sun, the river, the fire, the stars. Each sound is a gift passed from one person to another. You walk outside with one of them, a girl with curious eyes, and she points upward. Naran, she says. You understand, the moon. You whisper the word back. Naran. She smiles. Across thousands of years, you've just learned your first word from a world long gone. Language, once just a whisper, is becoming a river, flowing from one generation to the next. And with it comes stories, wisdom, and memory. You return to the cave, where the tribe is now singing, not quite words, but harmonies that rise like mist in the air. The flames flicker. Shadows dance. And you curl up on a warm fur by the fire, the gentle hum of ancient voices surrounding you like a lullaby. Above, stars peer through the cave's entrance. Below, the first stories are born. And between them, you sleep. Wrapped in the first language of love and wonder. Close your eyes, dear dreamer. Let the sound carry you. And may your dreams be written in the language of stars. The first cities, cradles of civilization. Welcome back, sleepy traveler. Tonight, we drift gently into the heart of the first human cities, places where dreams became buildings, and communities wove themselves into the shape of civilization. The sleep scientist appears beside you, her steps silent on the stone walkway as the first light of dawn spills across mud-brick rooftops. This, she whispers, is the cradle. Where people began to settle. To write. To plant and harvest. To create the pattern of life we still follow today. You stand on a gentle hill overlooking an ancient city, perhaps Uruk, Jericho, or Catalhoyuk. There are no cars, no tall buildings, only small, sun-warmed homes nestled close together, smoke drifting up from cook fires, and people beginning their day. As you descend into the city, you notice how alive it feels. Without the roar of machines, it hums softly with human rhythm, footsteps in dust, chatter between neighbors, children laughing, and the rustle of straw mats rolled back for the morning air. A group of women carry baskets of grain to a central square. Potters are shaping vessels in slow, practiced movements. Scribes sit with sharpened reeds, pressing symbols into clay tablets. The sleep scientist gently guides you through it all. These cities were more than walls and houses, she says. They were memory made solid. Cooperation made visible. You pass by a man offering fruit at a market stand. His voice is kind. He offers you a fig, sweet, sun-warmed, and perfect. Further down the alley, a group gathers in a courtyard, sharing music on flutes and hand drums. It is the sound of a people making something together, a culture. Inside a temple, cool and shadowed, you see painted walls and rows of candles. A priest lights incense and bows. Another leaves a small bowl of water and grain before a carved symbol. These were the first places where the sacred and the daily met, whispers the sleep scientist. Where people looked beyond survival, and began to ask why. Later, as the sun begins to dip, you climb the steps of a ziggurat. From the top, the city unfurls below you like a woven tapestry, homes, streets, gardens, wells. You realize something profound, these ancient cities are not just remnants of the past. They are reflections of who we are, the need to gather, to build, to imagine a shared future. As evening settles, lanterns glow along walkways, casting soft light onto smiling faces. You find a quiet rooftop, lay down on a woven mat, and look up at the first stars. You can still hear the city below, now softer, more like a lullaby. The wind carries the scent of bread and warm clay. Your body relaxes. The sky, above these ancient walls, stretches wide and timeless. And you sleep. Within the first heartbeat of civilization. The invention of writing, when thoughts took shape. Welcome back, sweet dreamer. Tonight, we float through the quiet corridors of history, into the moment when ideas first found form. When thoughts, once as fleeting as wind, were caught and kept, through writing. The sleep scientist walks beside you through the fading light of an ancient evening. Ahead lies a temple school, its walls sun-baked and cool to the touch, carved with symbols both mysterious and elegant. This, she says with a gentle smile, is where memory stopped fading, and began to live forever. You step softly across the smooth stone threshold, where young scribes sit cross-legged in a long hall, their faces bathed in golden torchlight. Each holds a tablet of clay, or a piece of papyrus, and in their hands, the first tools of writing, a stylus, a brush, a reed dipped in ink made from soot and honey. At first, it's only pictures. A fish. A tree. A star. Symbols that mean something. That carry sound, emotion, instruction, gratitude. One teacher leans over a student, correcting the shape of a curved mark. Another whispers a soft word, remember, words are spells. Use them wisely. The sleep scientist places a hand on your shoulder. This was not just about keeping records. It was about giving permanence to our inner world. You move from desk to desk, marveling at the birth of alphabets. Curved lines become letters. Letters become syllables. Syllables become names, of gods, of rivers, of loved ones long past. Someone writes the first poem. A prayer to the moon goddess. A wish for the safety of a journey. Another writes the story of a great hunt. A hero. A mistake. A lesson. You sit quietly beside a young girl as she carefully inks a message to her future self, one that will be found in a jar centuries later, read by another hand, across time. The sleep scientist smiles. With writing, time became a circle. Ideas no longer needed breath. They lived on in ink, on stone, on paper, through storm and silence. Outside the school, you walk through a city that glows under the stars. In homes, fathers are teaching their children to sign their names. In temples, chants are being recorded so future generations won't forget the sacred songs. In courts and markets, ledgers are carved, laws recorded. And in quiet corners, poets dream. You find a scroll tucked under a small stone bench, the softest poem, just 5 lines long. It reads: Beneath this sky, I dreamed of light. A reed, some ink, a quiet night. I spoke to stars in simple lines. And though I fade, the verse still shines. Remember me, who once could write. The wind lifts it from your hands, and the scroll vanishes into the night. But the words stay with you. As you settle beneath the stars, you realize. This story, your story, began with a voice, was shaped by silence, and now lives, softly, in ink and memory. Close your eyes. Let the words wrap around you like a blanket of thought and time. And sleep deeply, dreamer, in a world built on writing. The age of astronomy, watching the stars awaken. Welcome back, gentle dreamer. Tonight, we look skyward. We travel with the sleep scientist to a moment in human history when the stars were more than just lights, they became clocks, maps, and mysteries. This is the beginning of astronomy, when we first began to read the heavens. The scene opens in a desert temple, built atop a wide plateau. You and the sleep scientist stand quietly as the last golden rays of sunset fade, revealing the deep indigo of night. The silence of this moment is sacred. Before there were telescopes, satellites, or science journals, there were eyes and wonder. Look, she whispers, pointing upward. What do you see? You raise your gaze and find yourself breathless. The sky is impossibly clear. Thousands of stars hang in place, like tiny lanterns across a velvet canopy. As your eyes adjust, you begin to notice patterns, lines that trace pictures, a great hunter, a lion, a flowing river. Long ago, people gathered under these same stars and gave them stories. Stories to remember the seasons, to guide ships home, to mark when to sow seeds and when to harvest. You walk now through the desert temple, where ancient astronomers kneel by carefully carved stone tables. They track the moon's phases with pieces of bone and bronze. They chart Venus as it rises before dawn, a bright herald of the morning. They sketch the path of comets, record eclipses in sand-smoothed ledgers. You pause beside a star priest, a woman with silver streaks in her hair. She points to a set of carved spirals on the stone floor. This one, she says, tells us when the rains will come. That one, she gestures, marks the longest night of the year. The sleep scientist adds, these early astronomers weren't just scientists. They were keepers of time. Whisperers of the sky. As you stroll through the temple's open-air courtyard, you pass tall standing stones. Some align perfectly with the sunrise on solstices, casting long, precise shadows. You lay your hand on one and feel a hum, the low song of the earth spinning steadily beneath you. Later, the scene changes. You find yourself at sea, aboard a simple wooden vessel under a dome of stars. The sailor beside you holds a sextant and looks to Polaris, the North Star. Even here, he says gently, the sky guides us home. From desert sands to the decks of ships, from mountaintop observatories to silent watchmen with bare eyes, humanity has always looked up, and seen more than light. As the sky deepens, you see ancient star charts drawn with ink and longing, great wheels of stone aligned with the stars, observatories carved into cliffs, and finally, the early telescopes, long tubes of wood and glass, pointed upward with trembling hope. Each instrument, each hand that held it, asked the same question. What's out there? Tonight, you feel the answer settle softly in your heart: connection. With every star you trace, every shadow you watch stretch across stone, you're reminded, we are part of something vast, mysterious, and beautiful. You lie back on a smooth slab warmed by the day's sun. Above, the constellations slowly wheel across the sky. The Milky Way glows like a river of stardust. And in the quiet, you can almost hear the stars whispering their age-old lullaby. Close your eyes now, traveler of the cosmos. Let the rhythm of the stars and the hush of history carry you gently to sleep. The age of alchemy, dreams of gold and spirit. Welcome back, dreamer. Tonight, we journey into candlelit chambers filled with scrolls and shadow, where flame meets flask, and old magic leans toward science. Beside you walks the sleep scientist, her voice soft and curious. Before we had chemistry, she says, we had alchemy. A world of wonder, mystery, and transformation. You step through a wooden door into a round, stone room. The scent of herbs and old parchment floats through the air. At the center of the room is a grand wooden table, cluttered with curious tools, brass alembics, bubbling beakers, dusty mortars and pestles, and sealed bottles glowing faintly with emerald, amber, and rose light. An alchemist works quietly there, a man with kind eyes, ink-stained fingers, and robes speckled with stars. He hums a tune as he pours a silvery liquid into a flask. It hisses gently, then stills. On the wall is a chart of symbols, for Mercury, female sign, for copper, for Earth. Each symbol hums with meaning, both material and spiritual. Alchemy, you see, was never just about gold. It was about transformation. Of metals. Of knowledge. Of the self. The sleep scientist picks up a weathered text from the shelf beside you. This, she says, is the Emerald Tablet, said to contain the secrets of the universe. It tells us, as above, so below. You read the phrase aloud, letting the meaning settle. What is within you mirrors the cosmos, and vice versa. The alchemist beckons you to his table. You watch as he crushes a brilliant blue crystal into powder, adds a few drops of oil, and heats the mixture gently over a flame. A soft green glow begins to swirl in the flask, a metaphor, he explains, for healing. The elixir of life, he smiles, isn't always a potion. Sometimes it's curiosity, or kindness. You travel with the sleep scientist to other alchemical sanctuaries. A woman in Moorish Spain paints gold leaf into a tome of stars. Her fingers glide across the parchment, writing recipes for color, for fire, for light. In China, a Taoist alchemist burns rare roots, seeking balance between yin and yang. In Alexandria, scrolls lie open under oil lamps, filled with symbols that blend astronomy, medicine, and mystery. Through every culture and century, alchemy shimmered with hope, a longing to understand the world not only with the mind, but with the soul. You close your eyes and find yourself walking through a dreamlike garden, dotted with symbols in stone. Here, the sun and moon rise together. A tree glows gold on one side, silver on the other. You reach out to touch its bark and feel a deep calm. The tree whispers a truth in your ear. Everything is always becoming. Gold from lead. Light from shadow. Wisdom from wonder. As you return to the alchemist's room, you watch the last drops of liquid cool in his flask. He hands it to you with a nod. Drink, he says softly, and carry this dream into your sleep. The potion tastes of honey and wind. A little warmth, a little light, and a deep peace spreads through you. As you lie down beside the glowing fire, the sleep scientist tucks a velvet blanket over you. And as the stars turn above, you drift into sleep, where transformation is as easy as breath. The Renaissance, a new light dawns. Welcome back, sleepy traveler. Tonight, our journey takes us into the Renaissance, a time when curiosity bloomed like spring after a long winter, and the world began to see itself with new eyes. The sleep scientist smiles softly beside you, her lantern casting golden light against the stone corridor. We've arrived in Florence, she whispers, around the year 1500. A city bursting with questions, colors, and possibility. You find yourself in a candlelit workshop filled with canvases, scrolls, and inventions half-built in wood and metal. The walls are covered in drawings, of mussels and birds, moons and machines. A man in a long tunic stands at the window, peering out at the night sky. He turns to greet you with warm eyes and a sketchbook in his hand. It's Leonardo da Vinci. He shows you a page filled with gears and wings, stars and spirals. Everything, he murmurs, is connected. You move with the sleep scientist through a Florentine square, where poets recite by torchlight and painters mix pigments under awnings. Here, the night air is filled with ideas, new theories about planets, anatomy, and art. A street musician plays a soft lute melody, and you hear the voices of students in the distance debating the nature of light, or the shape of the earth. In a quiet cloister nearby, a monk gently turns the pages of an old manuscript. Ancient knowledge, he tells you, is being reborn. Indeed, this is the age when dusty scrolls from Greece, Arabia, and India were translated and studied anew. In a small observatory on a hill, you meet Galileo Galilei, gazing through a telescope. He invites you to look. You press your eye to the lens, and there, floating in the deep blue, are the moons of Jupiter. Tiny glowing pearls orbiting a massive sphere. It means, he whispers, that Earth is not the center of everything. You look again and feel it. The dizzying beauty of humility. The sleep scientist places a gentle hand on your shoulder. This, she says, was the moment humanity stepped into a larger universe. As dawn nears, the Renaissance city still glows with candlelight and quiet conversation. You pass gardens where students sketch the petals of a tulip, trying to understand symmetry. You hear the soft echo of a printing press turning, spreading knowledge faster than ever before. Inside a small library, you browse hand-copied books. Each one feels like a treasure, a portal. One is filled with maps, stars, coastlines, even inner organs. Another contains notes on optics, motion, and anatomy. Still another simply says, "To wonder is to begin." You lie down on a stone bench beneath a flowering tree. The branches sway gently, and starlight filters through the leaves. Above you, constellations once seen only by ancient astronomers are now being reimagined, studied, and shared. You close your eyes to the hum of Renaissance minds. Brilliant, curious, and alive with hope. And as you drift off, the sleep scientist tucks a folded parchment under your hand. It reads, "The light is always returning. Let your breath slow now, your thoughts soften, and your dreams unfold with invention, beauty, and wonder. The clockwork universe, time, laws, and the dance of gravity." Welcome back, dear dreamer. Tonight, your journey with the sleep scientist continues, into a world of pendulums, apple trees, and equations drawn in candlelight. We are entering the age of enlightenment, where the universe began to look like a grand, precise machine, and we started to believe we might understand its gears. You walk through a moonlit orchard, the grass soft beneath your feet. The sleep scientist walks beside you, her cloak rustling in the breeze. "Watch your step," she says with a playful smile, "you never know when an apple might fall and change everything." You come to a quiet cottage surrounded by trees. Inside, a man sits at a wooden desk, sketching curves and symbols in charcoal. This is Isaac Newton, and tonight, you are a quiet visitor to the thoughts that reshape the world. He shows you his work, calculus, born from the need to describe movement. He gently tips a ball down a sloped board and watches how it speeds. Even the stars, he says softly, obey laws. You walk with him into the orchard again. Above you, the moon glows with quiet grace. Why does the apple fall, he muses. And why doesn't the moon? He tells you of gravity, a force that pulls everything toward everything else. From apples to moons, oceans to planets. It is invisible, but real. Soft as a sigh. Strong as a star. You walk through fields of equations and candlelit labs. The ticking of pendulum clocks becomes your rhythm. Elsewhere, Christian Huygens perfects the movement of time itself, clocks that tick evenly, guiding ships and dreams. You find yourself standing before an enormous clock tower. Its inner gears move slowly, precisely, endlessly. This, the sleep scientist whispers, is how some saw the universe, as a clockwork, set in motion by a great maker. Perfect. Predictable. Beautiful. In the Enlightenment salons of Paris and London, you see thinkers gathered in velvet armchairs, sipping tea and sharing ideas that leap like sparks across continents. Electricity, optics, mathematics, magnetism, each idea dances like stardust through minds eager to understand. The sleep scientist leads you through a luminous observatory. Here, astronomers chart the dance of the heavens. You peek through a telescope and see the moons of Saturn gliding silently in their orbits. So far away, yet held, like everything, in the gentle cradle of gravity. Through it all, one idea shines. Nature has laws. And we can know them. Even in this stillness, this bedtime quiet, the laws remain. The earth spins. The moon pulls the tides. The stars glide on invisible arcs. You step into a quiet hall filled with models, orreries of brass and wood. Planets circling, moons spinning. Tiny hands turn the wheels, and the universe begins its slow, predictable motion. And yet, you feel something else. A softness behind the logic. Because even as we trace the steps of gravity and light, mystery remains. Understanding, the sleep scientist whispers, doesn't mean losing wonder. It deepens it. You lie down beneath a tall oak, the same kind Newton once dreamed beneath. The ticking slows. The stars swirl gently above. You feel connected, to the laws, to the mysteries, and to the long, quiet breath of the universe. Tonight, the clock ticks not to rush you, but to soothe you, one steady beat at a time. And as your eyelids grow heavy, you smile. Gravity holds you gently to the earth, and dreams pull you upward toward the stars. The invisible realms, molecules, atoms, and the unseen world. Welcome back, peaceful voyager. Tonight, the sleep scientist invites you to explore a world hidden beneath the surface of things. A world too small for the eye, but vast in mystery, the microscopic realm, where atoms dance, molecules swirl, and the tiniest things tell the biggest stories. You begin in a dim alchemist's chamber, the air thick with the scent of herbs and candle wax. Books are stacked in crooked towers, pages filled with strange symbols and old guesses. The sleep scientist lights a lantern, her face calm and content. We're on the edge, she says, between magic and science. You pass ancient texts that speak of elements, earth, air, fire, water. But the truth, she says, lies deeper. Through a doorway of swirling mist, you emerge into a chemistry lab from the 1700s. Wooden benches hold copper stills and bubbling retorts. There's a sense of excitement, a discovery just waiting to happen. Here, you meet Antoine Lavoisier, the father of modern chemistry. With careful precision, he weighs gases, notes changes, and draws connections. Nothing is lost, he tells you gently, nothing is created. Everything is transformed. You watch as he burns a strip of metal and captures the vapor it releases. The weight adds up. This is conservation, of mass, of matter, of truth. The room shifts. You now stand in a Victorian study filled with flickering gaslight. A woman peers through a microscope, eyes wide with wonder. It's Marie Curie, discovering new, invisible energies hiding in matter itself. She holds up a vial that glows faintly in the dark. "This is radium," she whispers. "It is small, but powerful." She teaches you that even the tiniest pieces of matter can release energy strong enough to light a world, or change one. The sleep scientist leads you deeper now, smaller and smaller. Past molecules that twist like dancers in a ballroom. Past DNA spirals like the ladders of life. You dive into atoms. Tiny solar systems made of whirling electrons and mysterious cores. In this silence, you hear them, the faint hum of probability, of particles that exist in more than one place at once. You glimpse Niels Bohr, sketching a model of the atom, a nucleus wrapped in rings of possibility. "Here," he says softly, "the rules change. Logic twists. We've entered the quantum." The sleep scientist smiles knowingly. "It's strange down here," she says. "But it's real." In a flash, you're surrounded by cloud chambers, glowing trails where particles once zipped invisibly by. You learn that reality, at its smallest scale, flickers like a candle, full of uncertainty and awe. Time stretches. You see molecules forming, water, sugar, air. Each one a tiny story, made of atoms bound by invisible forces. You watch as life builds itself, one molecule at a time, reaching upward into cells, tissues, organs, and eventually, you. You realize that you are made of this invisible dance. Of carbon and oxygen, of stardust and spark. Even your dreams are written in chemicals swirling softly through the night. You step out into a garden under the stars. A flower opens near your feet. Its petals, so simple on the outside, are formed of trillions of atoms in delicate balance. You breathe in, molecules enter your lungs, exchange places with those from trees, oceans, and clouds. Nothing stands alone. Everything, even you, is a part of this constant, quiet web. The sleep scientist rests beside you on the grass. "There's beauty in the unseen," she whispers. "And power in understanding what was once invisible." You lie back, feeling the earth cradle your body. The stars above shine with quiet clarity. You are made of atoms. And atoms are made of possibilities. And tonight, in this gentle moment, all the possibilities feel peaceful, quiet, and kind. Sleep comes slowly, like a molecule finding its match. You drift, and the world drifts with you. Into silence, into softness, into the space between things. Electric dreams, the spark that powers the universe. Welcome back, sleepy traveler. Tonight, the sleep scientist guides you into a world that crackles and glows, where invisible energy lights up cities, hearts, and stars. This is the realm of electricity, the invisible thread that stitches the cosmos together. You begin in a field beneath a stormy sky. The air is thick with the scent of rain and ozone. Clouds gather above you, dark and majestic. The sleep scientist stands beside an ancient oak. She points to the clouds. "Electricity," she whispers, "was once considered divine. And in some ways, maybe it still is." A lightning bolt splits the sky, jagged and bright, not with violence, but with awe. You follow the trail of sparks through time. First, to a quiet 18th century laboratory. There, Benjamin Franklin leans out a window with a key tied to a kite. The storm rumbles. The key glows faintly with energy. With a jolt, Franklin feels a truth confirmed. Lightning is not magic, but electricity, just like the tiny sparks he made with glass and wool. He smiles, his discovery crackling softly in the rain. You move on, to a candlelit room filled with wires and strange devices. Here is Luigi Galvani, watching a frog's leg twitch from a simple spark. Life, he says, responds to electricity. The sleep scientist shows you his notes, electricity and biology, linked by something invisible but powerful. The room shifts. You now stand in a theater in London, where Michael Faraday spins a copper disc between magnets. Around him, the air pulses. A needle moves on a gauge. He has discovered electromagnetic induction, the way motion creates current. With this, the world changes. You step into Faraday's workshop, filled with coils and magnets, with soft blue sparks flickering between metals. The sleep scientist explains that his work would one day power the globe, from lamps to laptops, from streetcars to stars. Electricity, once a curiosity, now hums through wires beneath cities, dances through fiber optics, and pulses through every living cell. You visit Nikola Tesla, standing in a room lit by glowing bulbs, wireless and mysterious. Around him, lightning pours from coils, bright and harmless. He believes in a world connected by invisible energy, a dream not too far from today. You pass through time quickly now. The invention of the telegraph, a single spark crossing continents. Then the telephone, the electric echo of a voice sent across miles. Then computers, circuits blinking like thought itself. You see neurons firing in a human brain, tiny bolts of electricity transmitting memory, language, love. Even our hearts, you learn, beat because of electrical signals, rhythmic waves that pulse gently in the dark. The sleep scientist brings you to a quiet hilltop at night. Far below, a city glows, a web of golden lights, blinking gently in the quiet. And above? The sky, shimmering with auroras, curtains of green and violet, shaped by solar storms and Earth's magnetic field. Electricity is everywhere. From the crackle of static to the hum of stars, from a spark in your mind to the glowing sky, it connects everything. You lie down on the grass and close your eyes. You feel the electricity inside you, gentle, steady. Not chaotic, but calm. Not sharp, but soft. Each breath syncs with the rhythm of life itself. The sleep scientist smiles beside you. Electricity doesn't only power machines, she says. It powers dreams. And as you drift deeper into stillness, you feel charged not with tension, but with peace. A quiet current hums in your bones. And sleep, soft and glowing, flows through you like light through wire. The great tree of life, evolution and the wonders of connection. Welcome back, explorer of stars and stories. Tonight, the sleep scientist invites you to wander not among galaxies or atoms, but among the branches of a tree older than memory, more intricate than a dream. This is the tree of life, where every creature that has ever lived is a leaf, and every branch a chapter in the unfolding story of evolution. You begin in a quiet garden, where moss carpets the stones and ivy winds up tree trunks. The sleep scientist kneels at a patch of ferns. Life began in the water, she whispers. In stillness, in darkness, and from there, it grew. She touches the surface of a calm pond. Tiny ripples spread, and suddenly you are underwater, drifting gently through time. You float through ancient seas, thick with silt and possibility. The first cells stir, simple, single, and alive. They divide and change, growing more complex, more curious. You follow them over eons. Cells form alliances, multicellular creatures rise. You glimpse jellyfish, soft and luminous, pulsing through primeval oceans. You see armored trilobites scuttling along the sea floor. Life, in its quiet perseverance, is trying every shape it can. The sleep scientist guides you to the shore. Waves lap gently as something new stirs in the sand, fins turning to limbs, gills giving way to lungs. You stand beside the first creature to crawl onto land. A breath is taken. The sky, once unreachable, now becomes part of life's story. You wander through a forest of giant ferns, mist curling like memory through ancient leaves. Here, early amphibians sing, insects as big as birds hover among branches, and the earth feels alive with experimentation. You pass the age of dinosaurs, thunderous, majestic, brief. The sleep scientist points upward. Even they had ancestors. And descendants. A comet streaks across the sky. The age of giants ends. And from the ashes, small mammals scurry, waiting for their chance. Time unfolds like a flower. You see primates learning to use tools. You see early humans around a fire, sharing stories, passing knowledge like torches in the dark. Their faces are curious, kind, and full of wonder, just like yours. The sleep scientist opens a large, glowing book. On every page is a different branch of the tree of life. One leads to whales. Another to hummingbirds. Another still to mushrooms, trees, and coral reefs. You realize, you are not separate from nature. You are nature. Not above the tree, but a part of it, a leaf among billions, connected by invisible roots. You visit Charles Darwin, walking quietly through a meadow with a journal in hand. The grandeur of life, he says softly, is that from so simple a beginning, endless forms most beautiful have been, and are being, evolved. You smile. You see the DNA helix, the molecule that carries life's code, spiral gently like the staircase of time. And in your own cells, the stories of ancient fish, amphibians, apes, and stars still linger. The sleep scientist brings you now to a massive tree in a moonlit forest. Its branches stretch so wide, they touch the stars. Its roots dive so deep, they stir the heart of the earth. And in every leaf, a name. A species. A moment in life's long, patient story. A soft breeze makes the leaves flutter. In one of them, you see your reflection. You sit beneath the tree of life, leaning against its warm bark. The wind moves through your hair. A firefly blinks gently nearby. You feel not small, but included. Not isolated, but woven. As the tree sways and the stars watch over you, the sleep scientist whispers. You are a thread in the greatest tapestry ever woven. A note in the most beautiful symphony. A heartbeat in the story of life. Sleep finds you there, in the roots of time, the branches of memory, and the arms of connection. And in that quiet, you dream of leaves. Through the fabric of time, a gentle journey across the ages. Welcome back, stargazer and sleeper. Tonight, the sleep scientist leads you into one of the most mysterious realms in all the universe. Not a planet or a galaxy, but the unseen thread that runs through everything. This is the world of time, the dimension that cradles memory, movement, and dreams. You begin in a quiet observatory. The sleep scientist stands by a window, watching the stars glide slowly overhead. Time is not a ticking clock, she says, but a soft river that carries us gently forward. She gestures toward a pendulum clock on the wall. With each swing, left, left, your thoughts begin to slow. You blink, and the observatory fades. You now stand in a vast field, golden with tall grass, and the air smells of warmth and wildflowers. This is Earth, long ago, but somehow also now. The sun above feels timeless, and as you walk, the sleep scientist explains how time is both constant and relative, how it stretches and bends around speed, gravity, and light. She tells you of Einstein, who first imagined time not as a line, but as a part of space itself, a woven fabric that can ripple, twist, or flow faster near a massive star. You look up and see the stars above dancing slowly. Time is not the same here, and that's okay. You pass through ancient forests, where every tree ring holds a memory of a season past. You walk through stone canyons, each layer revealing a chapter of the Earth's long history. You arrive at a village where early humans mark time by the moon and the sun, by the changing shadows, the ripening fruit, and the songs of migrating birds. For them, time is not about hours. It is about rhythm, the rhythm of life, light, and rest. You walk through ancient Egypt, where obelisks cast long shadows to tell the hour. Then into Greece, where sundials and water clocks measure the day. In each place, time is seen not as an enemy, but as a guide. You drift to a quiet medieval library, where monks copy books by candlelight. Measuring time by bells, not minutes. The sleep scientist whispers, for most of history, time flowed like nature itself, slow, soft, and circular. Then, you blink again, and the world has changed. You're aboard a steam train in the 1800s, where travelers needed clocks to align across miles. Suddenly, time becomes standardized, a tool for the world to move faster. Factories buzz, clocks chime, and cities pulse with urgency. But even in this rush, there are pockets of stillness. A grandfather and child lie on the grass, watching the stars. Time, the grandfather says, is not what's on your wrist. It's what you make of the moment. You pause at a quiet railway station. The sleep scientist invites you to sit on a bench. Trains come and go, each one a decade, a memory, a future. And you are simply watching. In this space, you are outside time. The world slows. Your thoughts soften. You feel your breath, slow and deep. You feel your heartbeat, gentle and strong. Time, in this moment, is not something passing, it is something holding you. The sleep scientist takes your hand and leads you into a room filled with clocks of every shape and kind. Some tick. Some hum. Some are completely silent. Each one is set to a different time, a different memory. You glimpse moments from your own life. A childhood birthday. A rainy afternoon. The scent of someone you loved. A moment of laughter under a summer sky. Time is not a line, you realize. It is a garden, and you can visit any part of it in your dreams. The clocks melt away. You lie on a soft patch of grass beneath the stars. You feel no urgency, no hurry. Only a gentle sense that time, like sleep, comes when it is welcome. The sleep scientist speaks one last time tonight. Time is not lost, she whispers. It is lived. And tonight, you've lived it gently. As the stars move silently above, and the world breathes all around you, you sink into the slowest, softest moment of all. Sleep. The dance of the galaxies, a celestial waltz in the void. Welcome again, dear dreamer. Tonight, the sleep scientist invites you to float with her through the deepest expanses of space, far beyond stars, past planets and moons, into the grand, swirling beauty of galaxies. You close your eyes, and together you lift off. Earth falls away like a fading light, and soon you're gliding through the quiet velvet of space. No gravity, no weight, no rush. Just stillness. And the gentle presence of the sleep scientist by your side. She points ahead, and you see something enormous and beautiful, a spiral galaxy, arms outstretched like a dancer in motion, billions of stars twinkling in graceful formation. This is the Milky Way, she whispers. Our home. A galaxy made of stars and gas, dust and memory. You drift into its gentle spin, the stars like lanterns on a winding staircase. Below you, glowing nebulae shimmer in pink and violet. These clouds of dust and gas are where stars are born. Like nurseries of light. The sleep scientist tells you how galaxies aren't just collections of stars, they are ecosystems, living and breathing on cosmic time scales. You see a dwarf galaxy approaching, small, glowing faintly. It floats near the Milky Way like a firefly near a lighthouse. As you watch, the smaller galaxy begins to merge with the larger one, not in a crash, but a cosmic waltz. Stars mingle and migrate. Gas clouds swirl and blend. Time slows as gravity dances its quiet choreography. Galaxies evolve, she says, just like forests, oceans, and dreams. They grow, collide, reshape, and shine. You float now toward Andromeda, our sister galaxy. It is magnificent, a grand spiral glowing blue-white with countless suns. Andromeda is on a path toward the Milky Way. But there is no need to fear. Their meeting will not come for billions of years. And even then, it will be like two clouds drifting into each other, reshaping, not destroying. Two galaxies becoming one. In this silence, the sleep scientist speaks softly. Everything is always in motion, not with noise or hurry, but with balance. Even galaxies are patient. You pass near a galaxy shaped like a whirlpool, its arms curled like waves frozen in time. Then one shaped like a bar, long and elegant. And another, strange and wild, a starburst galaxy, where stars are forming at incredible speed, lighting the space like fireworks. Each galaxy is unique, just like every dream, every snowflake, every sleeping heart. The sleep scientist invites you to look behind you. You turn, and gasp. A wall of galaxies stretches out into the infinite black, golden spirals, glowing halos, scattered dust, and mysterious shapes. Hundreds. Thousands. Millions. Each one a universe of its own. And between them, nothing. Just quiet. Just peace. You are surrounded not by emptiness, but by possibility. By creation. By the slow heartbeat of the cosmos. You and the sleep scientist drift gently through this ocean of galaxies, no longer separate from it, but a part of it, a tiny spark among many. The stars whisper lullabies in a language older than time. You feel no fear here. Only belonging. You close your eyes. And you sleep. Surrounded by galaxies that dance forever in silence. The quiet edge, where the universe whispers goodnight. Welcome, dear traveler. Tonight, the sleep scientist invites you on one last journey. To the farthest edge of everything we know. You've journeyed across planets, wandered through atoms, floated with galaxies, and listened to the music of time. Now, it's time to rest where even the universe begins to fall silent. You begin in a small observatory dome, starlight spilling in from the ceiling. The sleep scientist stands beside you, holding a small lantern that glows with soft, warm light. Are you ready? She whispers. You nod. She opens the dome, and together, you step into the cosmic dark. But this dark isn't frightening. It is peaceful. Velvety. Soothing. Like the inside of a quiet thought. You float gently, surrounded by soft whispers of space dust and memories of light. Ahead lies the cosmic background, the oldest light in the universe. This glow has traveled for billions of years, carrying the memory of the Big Bang, not as an explosion, but as a sigh of birth. It's faint, soft, and ancient, like the lullaby of the universe itself. The sleep scientist tells you how this light, this warmth, is everywhere, a reminder that everything began with one spark. That same spark lives in you. And in every sleeping star. You pass slowly through a field of drifting particles, not dust, not matter, but echoes of the early universe. Time slows. Your thoughts become quieter. And you arrive at a place where the stars begin to fade. Where the galaxies thin. Where the universe becomes almost still. This is the quiet edge, the furthest reach of our cosmic dream. No telescopes have seen this far. No math can fully describe it. Here, the fabric of space itself begins to soften, like the edge of a page, curling into a dream. The sleep scientist turns to you, her voice barely more than breath. This is not the end, she says. It's the beginning of rest. You settle into a floating cradle of light, made from the threads of distant galaxies and the shimmer of sleeping stars. You feel weightless. Ageless. held by something much larger than you, but also part of you. As you lie back, the stars begin to hum. The hum becomes a lullaby. And the lullaby becomes silence. But this silence doesn't end anything. It simply wraps around you, like a warm blanket stitched from stardust and time. The sleep scientist dims her lantern. She smiles, soft and knowing. Sleep now, she says. Let the universe dream with you. And you do. You drift beyond thought, beyond time. To a place where even dreams rest. Where the universe whispers. Good night.